Data brain.
With all due respect to the state controller whose office is in Albany, New York, we get shortchanged by Albany, New York, by the state Senate, the state governor's office, the three people in a room. We all know, you want to talk about education, Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse don't pay the taxes to the school district that the people of Yonkers do. The whole three cities, we pay more. We've had $108 million in state aid for the last 12 years. So for this guy to write down, and I'm sure he's an expert on this, but let him take into account why Albany continues to shortchange us. Before he tells us what's wrong with Yonkers, we should tell him what's wrong with Albany. And they've shortchanged us for years, so it doesn't make sense, anything he writes. Thank you.
Minority leader brain.
With all due
Fatality.
Good evening, folks. Happy Tuesday. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, let's talk about state aid. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, let's talk about state aid. Who's responsible for funding the schools? Is it the state's fault? Is it Albany? Is it the state? Whose fault is it?
Freddie wins. Fatality.
They blame the state all the time. They say it's the state, the state, the state. So is it the state? Let's find out. Did a little research on this stuff. Well, not a whole lot of research, but as much as I could on the state funding the public schools, the big five, schools, the conference of the big fives, right? That includes Yonkers, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, and New York City. It also says as well as Mount Vernon and Albany, but they're not usually as mentioned as the five that I just named there. And so they are a part of the big five because they are the largest school districts with the highest rate of, poverty. They have the highest needs. And so not only do they have the highest needs, so they get a lot of the more funding from the state, but they are also, kind of structured differently in the way that the local municipalities also fund their local public schools, right? Unlike other smaller towns and villages outside of these big five schools. So I want to talk about that first. So you hear Mike Breen there, right? Saying the schools, it's the school. I mean, the state is not funded us. They haven't done, they haven't given their fair share of funding to the schools. And so it's the state. We need to go up there and we need to, rally for more money. But, one thing that I noticed, they blame the state, they blame Albany, but they never mention a specific name, right? Is it the state? Like the state itself? Is it the city of Albany that's at fault here? They're not giving us? Oh, is it certain individuals that are up at the state who are supposed to be representing Yonkers, specifically in the Yonkers public schools, and champion for funding that we so desperately need to get our schools up to par, all right? Because they want us to be satisfied with some of the things that they have provided, I guess, so far. As you may have remembered last week, Lakeisha Collins-Bellamy saying that we do have a sports team. We have two. We have the Force and the Brave. Is that what it is? The Brave, the Force. And so, but she goes on to say, but when I was in high school, every high school had its own football team. And that's where we need to be, right? And it does affect our kids because they're truly not competing at a level where other high schools are competing at. And so it's shortchanging our students in any potential, scholarships for football, right? So, so that's a problem. I mean, a lot of people get scholarships for, not just academics, but also for sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball. I mean, cheerleading even. I knew some girls got scholarships for that at the high school I went to. They had hockey, golf. But, a lot of that stuff Yonkers just does not have. And so kids are not only not getting scholarships, but they're not introduced to these things, that I think would be great to introduce our kids to, right? You never know what they're going to gravitate and do very well at. But if it's not being offered, if they're not exposed to it, then they're limited in their potential. right? And what they can be in the future. I mean, I always wanted to go to, what is that? Space camp. Like I always wanted to do that, right? But it was so expensive. My mom just like, I can't afford that, right? And so who knows? Maybe I could have been an astronaut. Some people might say, you are an astronaut, Freddie, right? But, that just limited, that potential. Maybe I would have loved doing that. I would have, stuck with it. And, I would have been the first guy going to Mars or been the first Puerto Rican on the moon. Who knows, right? But because we were limited in finances, we can do that. But in our schools, we should be having a lot of these things, right? For our kids, we should have a more robust band program where kids are provided instrument, considering that this school, our school district, is largely impoverished. 77% of the student body lives at or below the poverty line. And so, I remember when I played the saxophone, I went to Sam Ash. My mom got the instrument, and it cost some money, but she was trying to make it work so I can, maybe be a saxophonist or whatever you call them one day. Who knows, right? It's called deflection by city officials, right? And it's a poor deflection because at the very least, if you're going to blame the state, name certain individuals who up at the state is supposed to be fighting for Yonkers. And that's where they stop short, right? But they'll just say the state and they'll say Albany. But at the end of the day, we know, right? If you are involved in politics or follow politics, who they mean by that, right? They mean our state senators, right? Andrew Stewart Cousins and Shelley Mayer, who's, I believe, the chair of the Education Committee. Andrew Stewart Cousins is the majority leader up there at the Senate, and they're both out here in Yonkers representing Yonkers. So, why aren't we getting more money from the state? But is the state shortchanging us, right? That's the first thing, we should even ask ourselves. Is it, just all a lie? Are we getting the money we, are obligated to get or, are entitled to? Is it just that the city itself is not funding the schools the way it should be funding it? I don't know. Let's take a look. The legislator and senator from Yonkers, legislators, county, we talk about the state, are responsible to get the funding. Right. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the big five schools, right? What is the big five schools? And that's, and you may have heard of it with Reverend Lopez. I believe he was involved in it. So the Big Five schools, the Conference of Big Five School Districts, let me show that up here for you guys, represents the city school districts of Buffalo, New York, Rochester, Syracuse, Yonkers, and it says Albany, Mount Vernon, and Utica. And so that's why you hear our elected officials, the council members, always saying, oh, well, they don't give us the same amount of money as, let's say, Rochester or Syracuse, right, or Buffalo. They always say these school districts, right? Our urban school districts enroll 46% of New York State's public school students, 66% state's English language learners, 51% of the state's special education students age 5 to 21. Right, they, special education students are stay in school up until 21 if they need to. 71% of New York State's pre-kindergartens are educated in our schools. The percentage of our pupils with extraordinary needs are, they're going to list them: Buffalo, 87%, New York City, 76%, Rochester, 93%. It's a higher need. Syracuse, 86%, Yonkers, 71%. Albany, 70%, Mount Vernon, 66%, and Utica, 88%. So Yonkers, as far as their needs, among those schools, is one of the least, only next to Albany. Well, actually, Mount Vernon, I don't know if that's so true, is it? But yeah, Mount Vernon seems like it needs some. But I don't know what the schools up in Buffalo or Rochester look like. But there's a reason aside from this need. And obviously the state recognized the needs in these other school districts, which is why they receive more. But there are other reasons, and I'm going to give those in detail here in a few. Let's quickly look at the mission. The Conference of Big Five School Districts was founded in 1958 as a membership organization representing the school systems of New York State's 5 largest cities of Buffalo, New York City, Rochester, Syracuse, and Yonkers. Our organization was expanded in 2014 to include affiliate members that are other urban school districts with comparable student demographics and local fiscal capacity issues. Our membership, much like our school system, is inclusive, diverse, and expanding. And they love to do all this inclusive and diversity stuff in our schools, right? Even the Big Five guys, I got to put it in their mission, right? An overview, our urban school districts enroll, I went over that. So I want to go over the numbers, right? But before I do this, I want to read this to you in terms of the funding. School finance in New York State, right? Let's understand how the funding goes. In New York State, estimated 2001-2002 public education funding comes from three sources, right? And this approximately 5% from federal sources, 49% from state formula A's and grants, and 46% from revenues raised locally. Local property taxes constitute close to 90% of local revenues. The state assumed a significant portion of this local tax burden through the implementation of the school tax relief, the STAR program, in 1998. For the 2001-2002 fiscal year, STAR is estimated to account for about 16%. That's old. The thing I'm going to read, state aid for the public school comes primarily from the state general fund, wherein the major revenue source is state taxes in addition to general fund guarantees. The level of lottery funds appropriated for education, making up any shortfalls in lottery revenue. There's another place, the state's taxes. I think I read that all right there. So yeah, so 46% comes from local municipalities, right? 46%. And now they say most of the money that goes to the schools is levied from property taxes. Well, if you are a part of the Big Five school or the part of that conference, which Yonkers is a part of, then they are allowed to, well, Yonkers is supposed to provide funding from the entire municipal funding, not just property taxes. So they have a bigger purse to work with than other, smaller schools, districts, villages and cities, and towns of that such. And I wanted to read that because it said it somewhere in more detail. I wanted to, but my computer had to. And past years, Board of Regents, no, recommended, no. So, but yeah, so that's what it says. But let's go to the numbers, right? Let's go to the numbers. This is why Yonkers may get less than other schools. Syracuse has 19,780 public school students, and it has 2,341 charter school students. So these other school districts also have more charter schools, which is another reason why they get more money. Let's look at Syracuse here. I want to put it up so you guys can see it also with me, and I'll read it. So as you can see there, they have 1,625 pre-kindergarten children, 2,920 English language learners, 2,289 teachers and administrators, 372 guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, and medical staff, 1,773 support staff, 8,649 students receive free breakfast daily, and 11,560 students receive free lunches daily. 15,115 total students are transported daily. 779 non-public school students transported daily. And that means students that are part of, they may live in the Syracuse or in Yonkers, but they don't attend the public schools. Maybe they go to a school that provides a special need for them, like Andrews or something like that. But the school district, the Yonkers Public School District, would still be responsible for transporting that child to that specific school. So let's take a look at Rochester. And I'll put that up again for you guys to see. Rochester has 28,270 K through 12 students, including 7,475 charter school pupils, 2,775 pre-K children, 3,282 English language learners. It has 3,509 teachers and administrators, 268 guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, 1,999 support staff. It gives out 13,140 free breakfasts and 16,871 free lunches daily. And they transport over 29,000 kids daily. And they have a total of just over 2,100 kids that they transport that are non-public schools that are going to special schools that they need to go to. So that's a huge need. And let's look at Buffalo. Buffalo has 38,221 K through 12 students. That includes 10,403 charter schools. So that right there, if you know the total student body in Yonkers Public Schools, we have about 25,000. So they have over 13,000 more students, right? They have 2,033 pre-K students, 5,900 English language learners, 4,100 teachers and administrators, 332 guidance counselors, and so forth, 1,700 support staff. They give over 18,477 free breakfast daily and over 26,000 free lunches. Wow. And they transport over 34,000. Let's take a look at Yonkers now. Yonkers has 25,000 K through 12 with only 814 charter school students. We only have that one charter school there in Warburton, the Charter School of Success or whatever it's called, right? They have 1,389 pre-K children, 2,856 English language learners, 2,100 teachers and admins. But in guidance counselors, psychologists, and social workers, Yonkers did have, the higher amount there, 1,100 of 1,100 of them, 1,788 support staff, and we do about 5,200 breakfasts and 12,000 lunches. That's a huge difference from Buffalo, where they do 26,000 free lunches a day. And so why does that matter? Because that shows there's a huge need in Buffalo. There's a higher rate of poverty. So they are going to get more money. They have more kids. So they give more breakfast for free. So they need more money. They transport more kids. They have more charter school students. And they have to give money to the charter schools. We know how that goes, right? And some people are for it, other people are against it. Usually the people that are for it, their kids are in the charter school, or they're wanting to get their kid in a charter school. And so there's a better success rate at the charter school. More is done. Why is that? Well, there are a few differences, and I won't go into that. But people have that debate. Should we have more charter schools here in Yonkers, or should we just improve the schools in Yonkers? Why do we need to add an additional system, a form of educational district type of thing, in order to provide that? Why can't all the schools mirror whatever it is that the charter school is doing if it's showing a higher rate of success? Why do we, again, need some, two separate types of systems? So, I wanted to talk about charter schools because some people are not always for them. And some people say, charter schools are no good. While we support school choice and affording parents the option to send their children to charter schools, we have serious concerns with regard to the current charter school funding system. Charter school expansion is saturated school districts must be limited, and the New York State Board of Regents designated as the sole authorizing authority. The state must also prohibit charter schools from expanding to serve additional grade levels when this would alter the school's current grade configuration. In addition, supplemental charter school tuition payments must be reimbursed in the year they are paid. School districts should not be burdened with cash flow struggles and short-term borrowing expenses caused by delayed reimbursement. Furthermore, an independent entity must be appointed to oversee the dissolution of charter schools to ensure public funds are protected and returned to school district as required under current statute and charter school. That's an interesting one. My mind is, I ain't gonna say it. And charter school reserves must be limited. Oh, wait. It is unconscionable to continue to advance public funds to charter schools with reserves, in some cases, in excess of 50 to 150% of their total annual operating budget. Wow. Wouldn't this Yonkers Public School District itself like to be at a 50% to 150% over their operating budget? Wow. Charter schools must also be required to provide school districts with accurate enrollment and attendance information in a timely fashion, and statutory process established whereby school districts may recoup excessive charter school payments from prior years. Lastly, enhanced accountability measures must be applied to charter schools to ensure that enrollment accurately reflects district pupil demographics. So that's interesting, and I think that's a good point. I mean, if charter schools are receiving this money and they're having this, surplus in excess of, amounts of money that are 50% to 150% over their annual operating budget, then maybe they're getting too much money. Maybe they're just getting away, and maybe that's why they're doing better. right? They keep their, overhead low because they're much smaller organization and they get all this money. And so we need to figure out how to get more money to our students. And I'm tired of hearing our elected officials, our city council members continue to blame the state. Blame the state. We gave $5 million more, says the city council president. But what does that $5 million really do when you have raises, you have contracts to settle, you have promotions, new hires that are much needed? You can't have a school without, certain staff members. You have to have them. And so that $5 million quickly gets eaten up. And that's why I think she had that Freudian slip where she said, well, more money for what? Is it more money for the teachers? More money for salaries? And while she does have a good point there, I think that she can also be creative. I think they all can be creative in how they find more money. There is a lot of excess spending going on in other areas that can be cut. And we do have a charter school here in the city of Yonkers. I'm not saying that they are receiving too much money. I don't know. But from what I just read here, it's a possibility. And maybe that should also be considered. Are we giving away too much of the public school money to the charter school? And is that why, you don't see any more, but just that one, because they don't want to give any more money to the charter schools. But we need to step our schools up and we need to find the money. It's there, right? Like she said, it's not going to happen overnight, but little by little, you can find the wasteful spending and start to add that to our school district. And like I said, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, Madam President, Esquire, how much did that investigation into Mike Cater cost the city? And so things like that, we could do without, especially when our school district needs the money, right? So you have to think about that. I wanted to go over how much the state had given, the impact of charter schools on traditional schools. Let's see what their impact is. The New York State Educational Conference, a membership organization comprised of New York State's 7 leading educational organizations, collectively representing parents, classroom teachers, school-related professionals, school boards, building administrators, superintendents, and school business officials are united in calling upon the governor and the legislators to take action to address the devastating impact of the poorly designed charter school approval process, flawed funding system, and lack of adequate oversight and account. Well, listen, why don't you guys get together and fight for more money, like Mike Breen says and Lakeisha Collins Bellamy say, right?
But the large amount of money in the budget that goes to the schools goes to salaries, not to spending for the students. So while we sit here and we grandstand and we talk about politics, it's disheartening when at the end of the day, it's about the students. We know there are programs in the school. Could there be more? Absolutely. When we grew up, we had instruments to take home. We don't have that, but there is a band. They were here in the chamber. We had chamber music.
There is a band. They were here. They were in the chamber. We had the choir singing for Black History Month. So why are you guys grandstanding like I am right now? As I tell you not to grandstand. You got to go up to the state, she says. I didn't see some of you up there at the state rallying with us. But why is it that every year we have to go up and rally? And why didn't you name those people who should have been there? And how much does Senator Shelley Mayer have, how much impact does she have on getting Yonkers more money? You guys see her a lot. You take pictures with her a lot. Senator Cousins has been around a lot. Have you guys asked her while you've been at the flag raisings and all these other, events, these feel-good events that don't get us any more money for our schools? Did you ask her? Did you say, hey, Senator Cousins, we need more money. We need more money. Another reason why the state doesn't feel bad and doesn't send the amount of money that our city officials would like to see is because they look at the salary. You guys pay a lot of money to your employees. You must be doing well. In the business world, only companies that do very well can afford to pay their employees higher than average salaries. I mean, some of the highest, if not the highest in the country. So maybe you guys don't need the money. You guys do pretty well also in your total revenue yearly. So what's going on? Are you mismanaging the money? Maybe sometimes we can do without promotions, or maybe negotiate less overtime. Why is there built-in overtime into some of these contracts? I mean, it's just like automatic. How do you know they're going to need the overtime? Is there specific reasons why, we need to include X amount of hours of overtime automatically? Usually overtime is if you need it, it's not usually, I mean, you can account for it if you're in a business or you're doing something where, you have overtime often, but you're not just going to say, okay, we automatically know every guy's going to need get 10 hours overtime because we're going to need it. Right? Am I understanding that wrong? Is it like 20 hours of overtime as part of the agreement or something like that? I don't know. But I do know that one of the questions or concerns, I should say, of Thomas DiNapoli, the guy that Mike Breen tried to make seem like he was incompetent, he questioned why was it that many of these timesheets were not signed by anybody? No supervisor, not even the person who's turned in the timesheet. Yet and still that person was paid. Why is that? Did no one want to take responsibility if ever it were to come back that many of those hours were not earned and should not have been paid? Either way, the person who accepted the money should still be responsible at the very least. But you should also hold their supervisors responsible. And if I had seen that in a report of an assessment done on my business, I would be yelling at some people. Some people would probably be fired. I'm sure they would be fired for stealing time. And so how much time has been, stolen, right? Built-in overtime equals plunder pass. And that's something Anthony DiMaggio has talked about, right? So there's a lot of areas to the council members that you can look at, but you refuse to. You turn a blind eye, you turn the other way, you ignore, and you blame the state. But at the very least, name some people. Say who, but you can't, because you want to be able to put their picture on your palm cards. Ain't that right, Shanae? Why do you have Stuart Cousins on your palm card? That doesn't even make sense. She's not even on your side. What, you thought because you're both are black? No, doesn't matter. Not on the same team, and you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, are you supposed to, are you allowed to have your palm card and posters up at the window? Isn't that a nonprofit over there, or maybe not? Did you make a deal? Grants for endorsement? Is that what's going on here in District 1? I didn't know that. Give me a sign. I'll put it up. How much did he get? Just kidding, right? But you should be taking that down, because you're not supposed to commingle unless it's a 501c4. Is that what type of nonprofit it is? But I thought they were doing film stuff. I don't know. I'm all confused. But you should be working that hard for our students. Volunteering in the school, Shanae. How about going in there and volunteering your time to paint and fix up a lot of the damages that I've seen from parents who've sent me the pictures, who've emailed me the pictures, students who've emailed me the pictures. Work that needs to be done in our school buildings that's just left the way it is because there's no funding. They gave $5 million. What more do you want? Off the backs of who? The taxpayers? No, not just the taxpayer, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, because as Yonkers Public Schools being a part of the Conference of Big Five Schools, the school district, or the municipality is supposed to fund their share from the entire municipal revenue, not just property taxes. And so therefore, you are open to a bigger pot of money. So you can find the money, found the money to buy the park. You funded the schools only $5 million, but you bought a piece of land that's contaminated for $13 million, and you still have to do the work. So how much is that going to cost? That could have went to the schools. Every dollar that is available has to go to the schools. Why didn't Ginsburg pay for it? They're the ones that are going to benefit when they get to post their ads with the lovely images of that park that's newly built alongside their towers. Why didn't they pay for it? Why didn't they fund any projects that needed to be done in the schools? Why did so many of them receive so much in pilots? That affects our school district. You're allowing buildings to be built. You're going to have renters. And so the property taxes paid by the owners of the building, they're getting tax breaks. That's hurting us. That's hurting us. What are we getting in return? Most of the people in Yonkers are not benefiting from these luxury developments at all. So you can't say that was a deal you guys had to make in order to bring in these luxury developments, because nobody wanted them. They wanted affordable housing, not luxury housing. They wanted jobs. They didn't want to watch people coming in by the bus load and train loads from Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and elsewhere to come work here. And they weren't hoping for you guys to make a solution that would eventually kick them out. That's not what they wanted. It's not what the people wanted. And so you bring in these luxury developments, giving them tax breaks. People are getting kicked out. The schools are not getting their fair funding from the city because they're too busy making deals with luxury developers and movie studios. Why isn't Lionsgate funding some of these schools? Tell Joe Carter, yo. Or Greenpoint, whatever they call it. If you had somebody in there, city council member, that truly cared about the people and was dedicated to our educational system, because the chair has no clue, Tasha Diaz. She is the education chair, but she is clueless. She got into a spat with Ron Matten at the Memorial Day ceremony. How rude. People were telling me about it. They blame you, Tasha. And then I heard what happened. Why make the negative comment? You started it. I know it sounds childish, but you did. Be professional. You're the majority leader and the education chair, education committee chair. Yeah, and still, you can't be professional. If you don't like someone, say nothing to them. Don't make a negative comment, especially to someone who posts up funny pics of you guys. What do you think he's going to do? What do you think he's going to say? And so you disrupted that ceremony, Tasha. You should be focused on getting our schools more money, but you're not. You're not. And what about your assistant, $93,000 or chief of staff that goes into work all late? Because I see him skipping back and forth across Main Street all the time, or Warburton over there. Other people see him too. They text me, see your boy Brenton. He's not my boy. You're going to be my boy, you know? So what are you paying him for? $93,000. Unlike other council members, I think city council majority leader is your only position. Why do you need a chief of staff? You should be there all day. You shouldn't be at the food drives. Where's Brenton? But he's getting $93,000 I hear. And what about Mike Breen? Your chief of staff makes almost $90,000 a year. And so far, the only thing I've seen him do is attack people on Facebook. Why does he even still have a job? You see, city council president, Madame Esquire, if you want to be creative and if you really want to find some money, you can. The important thing is here, if you want to. That's key, if you want to. But it doesn't appear you guys do. Because if you were even serious about blaming the state, you would name names. You would say, well, Senator Shelley Mayer. Hey, Nader Sayegh. Does Gary Pretlow even exist anymore? Where's he been at? Someone was saying the other day he stays low under the radar. You don't really hear much of him. He doesn't do anything at all, not even get into the gossip, right? So why don't you name these folks and say, hey, what are you guys doing? You say the state delegation went up there and fought hard and they got us more money. Really? What did it get us? So you guys are not being the true representative that you were voted in there to be. You are supposed to be the check and balance. Check and balance. If we need more money, then whose fault is it? Is it the state? Then who up at the state should be fighting harder? Let us know. And at what point do we say we got enough? We got proper funding. We no longer have to continue to blame the state. When are we going to get there? I know it takes time, but it's been a long time now. And we still can't get it together. And there's still a lot of nonsense that goes on within our school district, within the staff, that needs to be rooted out. This whole cliquish thing. Focus on the kids, like you said, Madam President. The students are the most important thing. Mean what you say what you mean. That's all I'm saying. And if you guys did that more often, then Freddie would probably talk less about you. In fact, I may even praise you. So what are you going to do? Are you going to actually really try to work hard to do everything in your power to improve the schools, even if that means you have to check Tasha Diaz as chief of staff? And what about yours? How much did she get paid? And how much did you guys spend renovating your entire offices? Why? You may not be there in another few years, right? What's the point of doing that and spending that money? Did Tasha really need a brand new flat screen and a refrigerator? For what? She's not really there. She doesn't do much. And what about the cars? Why do you need the cars? That's a lot of money. Gas, insurance, replacing them when some of you crash them. But I don't want to be only picking on you guys. Other people in departments have crashed cars too. But what about the cars? I see some of you driving them on the weekend, doing absolutely nothing official, but you're still driving those cars. Shanae Williams had her city car out the other day on a Saturday over by the sick film thing where she was volunteering. Is that official business or is that volunteering? Your time, personal time. Shouldn't volunteer while you're getting paid. So there's a lot of areas you guys can cut. There's a lot of wasteful spending going on, and every penny counts. And it adds up at least to $8,000 for some mats. You couldn't even do that. So what are we to be happy about? And this is the same thing every year. That has not changed. So if you have half a brain working, you're going to assume, with great reason to, that next year will be the same. And so why should we believe you guys at this point, right? Why should we believe you? Why should we believe you? All right, I'm going to play another video. I had the numbers here. Did I play this one already? And I don't know where they went. But I had the numbers here. I don't think I wrote them down. Did I write them down? I think I did. I wanted to tell you how much money each of these schools got so you can see. Rochester gets $790 million. Well, that was their budget. $790 million, 571,815. Syracuse, $463,319,997. Buffalo, $927,400,000. And Yonkers, this was actually for 2019, 2020. This is the only one I could find. Yonkers was that had all of them. Yonkers had that year got 592 million. 15,094. So Buffalo a big difference, those $400 million difference. But again, they're super poor. I'm sorry. I think Buffalo, in fact, is the second poorest city in the country. They have more students. They have over 13,000 more students. They serve more free lunches, 26,000 free lunches a day. That's compared to Yonkers, I believe it was like 8,000. It's a huge difference. And so they have to get more money because of that. They have more charter school students. They transport more students. So guys, do you understand that fact? So can you please stop blaming the state, because that's all we're getting from you. I want to see action. What about you guys? You want to stop hearing this and just see actually something get done? Let's see where we can find more money. Can I help you guys? Can I volunteer my time, Shanae, to help you find more money? Because the schools so desperately need it, our kids need it. So why can't we get it? Why can't we get what they need? Why can't every high school have a football team? Why can't we have cheerleaders for those football teams? Why can't they have equipment that they can feel proud to be in? Yes, many of them come from poor families. Their parents don't pay taxes, but don't scare the people who pay property taxes by telling them that if you get more money, it's going to be off their backs. That's a scare tactic. That's fear mongering. And it saddens me because a lot of people who are paying the property taxes many times send their kids to a private school once they reach 9th grade. And so they don't care. As long as the school that their children are in now, the elementary school or middle school, and some of them are combined, and they can stay there up until high school, they don't care too much. They care more about their taxes going up. And so they fear monger. The reality is Yonkers is a Big Five conference school, and it's not just property taxes where you can get the funding from. It's all the money that Yonkers generates. And there's been a lot of developments here. I would imagine a lot of money being made off permits, properties being sold. Where's the money from that property? You guys sold too many of these properties way too cheap. Bad deals being made with these developers. Tax breaks that they're getting. We need that money, right? We need that money. And don't tell me that they would have went elsewhere if they didn't get those tax breaks. Do you know that for a fact? I doubt it. But that could have been a great way to generate the money we needed for the schools. Make some deals. You don't want to give us the money? Tell you what, go fix up that school over there. Make it state of the art while you're at it. You fight for the people. You fight for Yonkers. You fight for the kids. You just don't sit up there and grandstand, because you all grandstand, because nothing gets done. If you stood up there and you spoke and then got it done, I wouldn't say that, but you're all grandstanding because you get nothing done. Our schools are still in poor condition. It's not the quality education our kids deserve, especially when they get to the high school level. Those are important 4 years. Very important. And we need more for them. At least find the money for the high schools. That's important. Give our kids a real chance to escape poverty. Doesn't matter if we have a 93% graduation rate, pushing kids along. Look at the proficiency numbers. How the hell we have a 93% graduation rate or whatever with those low proficiency numbers, right? We're below state average in math, science, English. How are we having such a high rate of graduation? Those numbers don't add up. But I guess they think they can get it by us here in Yonkers because we went through the Yonkers Public School District, right? We're not gonna know. We don't realize it. We're not gonna get it, right? And so that's sad. And so we have Tasha Diaz, the education chair. She's not fighting for our education. She spends more time handing out free food. Go out there and do something, fundraise, bake something and sell it so we can get some money for our schools, Tasha. Public education funding comes from 3 sources. I said that: federal, 4%, 39% state formula aid. Actually, this is according to another website. 57% locally. Local property taxes is about 91% of local money raised. The primary source of local revenue for education in all communities is the tax levied by Board of Education or municipal government for the big 5 city school districts. State law requires that pilots be distributed proportionately among taxing jurisdictions affected by tax exemption granted by IDAs. So you got to watch how you give those tax breaks, because it impacts our schools. Saying right there in the website that not here no more because I had to close my browser. The big 5 city school districts' fiscal dependency on their municipalities means that the school system does not levy taxes, but is dependent upon citywide taxes for support. State aid enters the city treasury, not the school district's treasury. Makes you wonder why maybe the budgets were combined. I don't know. So you guys are managing the money. You guys are responsible for funding our schools adequately. We cannot blame the state. We cannot blame anyone else. We have to figure it out. If this is all the state's going to give us, which is a lot, it's a lot of money, then we have to find a way to get the money that we must put in, or you guys, the city, must put in order to fund our schools adequately. Get these schools fixed. We have more kids coming in, migrant children. I mean, it's going to get worse. It doesn't seem like it's going to get better. And what's the plan? Just build Yonkers up and push most people out who can't afford to live here and hope that the rest will make the city better somehow? That's what it seems like the plan is. I don't know. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. Basement Politics Unfiltered. Yeah, that's right. Butter chicken lady. That's Tasha Diaz. You know, she wants to make it quick.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken. So thank you. I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
Have a beautiful night, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Let's fight for our kids. Let's stand up. Let's say something to them. Listen, you guys can find more money. I don't want to hear that nonsense, man. There's a lot of ways to cut, cuts that you can make. There's a lot of wasteful spending. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to blow nobody's spot, but listen, our kids are important, man. Our kids and a lot of people that work in the city make a lot of money, and then they take that money out, and guess what they do? They fund other school districts, right? Because they buy houses in places like Yorktown Heights and Mahopac and Putnam County, and then they send their kids to those public schools. They're funding them through their property taxes from the house that they got up there. And so they're getting $200,000, take it up to Yorktown Heights and fund Yorktown Heights public schools. And then they have lacrosse and they have wrestling and gymnastics and water polo and all that crazy stuff. And we have 2 teams, right? And we should be grateful for that. And we can have so much more, but they don't care. Because if you did, those developers would have been paying for it, or they wouldn't be building here. That's bottom line. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics. Folks, have a beautiful night, and I'll see you mañana.
Freddie wins. Fatality. Freddie wins.
I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Did you think I left? Some people get concerned when I don't come on every day. But I'm working on things, trying to make the city better. You know, if you guys would like to nominate me as the, actually, hopefully I'm getting that thing taken care of. Shanae, I'm doing your job. While you're volunteering at Sick Film, I'm doing your job. But that's okay. As long as I get help for this person, You're gonna do it, right? So if you guys need anything, reach out to me. If I can help you, I will try to help you. If you got any information, if you got concerns, comments, questions, if you want me to get a porta potty clean at a local area park, just email me at politicwithfred@gmail.com or message me. I may get the message later than the email. So if you want to reach me quicker, I suggest an email, politicwithfred@gmail.com. And I'm here for you, the people. That's right. Primaries, make sure if you're registered to vote. If you're not registered to register, June 12th is the deadline. Register to vote. Vote. This is important. If you haven't voted before and you're not registered, do it this year. It's important. Let's go. Vota, mi gente, porque si no te van a votar. So vota o te vota.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote. In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote.
Make sure you get out there and vote for you Democrats. June 27th is the primary. Vote. It's important. We have the elections. I hear Moranti's out there collecting those petition signatures for the 3 terms. Bring it back. But my question is, Moranti, why not 2 terms? I think that's what the people voted for initially, right? Why not have a petition to bring it back to 2 terms? Maybe someone can answer that, put in the comments.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Folks, if you don't see me after Thursday, you should be concerned. Call the police, call the FBI, call the DOJ. If I turn up missing on Friday.
Freddie wins. Fatality. Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!